All right, we about to get it popping, so I need you to not. I need you to focus. Can you focus for me?
Yep.
Can you focus? All right, here I go.
Got it.
Hey, listeners. Listeners,
That sounds like a good character voice you could do.
It is.
I can't wait for you to have like a baby so you can make little character voices to them and then haunt them.
Ben.
Hello, baby, I'm going to eat your feet. And then the baby like, cries and is terrified.
Can you please?
So, like you like try to put the baby in the
Let
oven.
me do my job.
Sorry.
Hey, listeners. Ben and I missed the fuck out of y'all, and we are going to talk about all of the drama that has been our lives for the past 2 weeks. But we missed y'all. Happy New Year. Want to take a hot little minute at the top of the show to remind you to join our Patreon. No. White man, you will not. I'm speaking. Mr. Vice President, I'm speaking. God, our country. Yes, I wanted to remind everybody to join our Patreon. You will find the link to the Patreon in the episode show notes. Let's welcome 2 friends to the party. Patrons, I'm going to post a little just one-on-one personal video with y'all this week because I really have missed y'all. I need to connect with y'all. We just, we took the break. We took the holiday, and a bitch is pregnant. But I do miss y'all. Want to shout out 2 patrons who recently joined the party really quickly. That's Rise Talks for the Tax Pro. Sounds like money to me. Thank you, Rise Talks, because I also see you interacting with the content on the YouTube and things like that. So shout out to Rise Talks for the Tax Pro. We will probably connect sometime in the new year. And also Candace Ken. Thank you so much for joining, Candace. Because we've been dropping the ball left and right, we're going to do our book giveaway next Tuesday. Okay, friends? I think that's the 11th. So we're going to do that next Tuesday. Now, oh yeah, last reminder, join our Patreon. You will find that in the show notes. Now let's get started with the show. Or you on one today? Let me get this out, whore. Welcome to the Sci-Fi Sci under the Believe Podcast Network. It's a podcast about Black science fiction and fantasy and staying on the same page of our marriage. The same page. You hear that, Ben? Because you're on a different page right now. Today, for episode 66, we will be recapping Imago, okay? That is book 3 of Lilith's Brood. I know, it's been 5 damn weeks since we've been reading this book, but I promise you we're going to recap that, and we're also just going to talk about the holidays and how much we missed y'all.
Excuse me.
Speaking, that is a great segue to what we've been going through, because guess who got COVID?
I got COVID. We
both got coronavirus 2019. Yes, we did. So
2021.
In 20 and now damn 22. We have since recovered, but we both have those lingering sexy little COVID coughs. But people, stay safe. It was very emotional at first because obviously I'm pregnant.
You're emotional.
And I am very dramatic, if you know anything about me.
Which is good. You can't make decisions without emotions.
Right. And you can't make decisions at all. So we are feeling much better now. We do have that lingering cough. We are double vaxxed and boosted and all the things. I mean, if they told me hey, bitch, in order to keep this virus out of your system, you'll turn green at the end of the week, I'd be like, cool, let's go. Money green. But we just got caught up in these streets. So everything's fine. Our health is doing better.
Healthcare professional.
I would listen. Yes. That I think people understood. They smelled what I was stepping in. But we were in Georgia for the past 2 weeks, curing ourselves, having a nice little drive-through baby shower. Ben, why don't you just talk about how you feel? Because we just got in maybe 2 hours ago. How are you feeling?
I'm good. I feel physically great. We didn't really have any problems. We did have a taco fight.
We had a taco fight in our brand new car, y'all. Yeah. Oh, we got a car, y'all.
Yeah,
damn.
Yes, we got a car.
Ben surprised me with a car.
I'll post that on the YouTube. I did surprise you with a car. I bought you some Christmas gifts because I was sick, and so I forgot to buy them for you. Yeah. But then I bought them, so you'll get them in February.
This is really a step up because our very first Christmas, you bought me a Starbucks gift card. Mm-hmm. So now Ben is doing
a Red Lobster gift card. I think.
Or
maybe that was for your birthday. I don't remember.
Yes.
Well,
she loves her gift cards, but damn.
Well, it was going to be like,
it's were these re-gifts?
No, it wasn't. I just was poor, and I know you had said that you grew up going to Red Lobster.
Well, stop being poor. I just, I think I too proved that we were broke as our delicacy was the local Red Lobster.
Anyway.
But you know what,
I feel
Ben,
great.
I received that. And also I remember at the time, Red Lobster was in vogue because like Beyonce's Formation had recently dropped. So the Red Lobster was fun. But when you gave me like a $10 Starbucks gift card for Christmas, I was like, I would have rather us try out something new in the bedroom than you gift me probably something that one of your students gave you. But we have grown since. I surprised Ben with something too. I don't want to completely spoil it because we're going to show y'all on our YouTube. But if you're watching our current YouTube, you can see some of it behind him on our walls.
It's really great.
Yeah. But I just want to give y'all a warning that you might hear a little tickle in the throat every now and then as we record. But yeah, that's legitimately why we couldn't record, because Ben was dog sick after the booster shot. I had like toddler COVID, I'll say. I had a runny nose. Ben had...
I lost taste.
Ben had motherfucking COVID, was a divorcee with 2 kids, had just filed for bankruptcy.
Struggling with alcoholism.
Ben had full-blown COVID 2019. So I'm glad you... Oh, there you go. I'm glad you're feeling better, my love.
Yeah, how are you feeling?
I'm great. We did have a taco fight. Why don't we tell the people about our taco fight?
Well, I was driving and I asked you to hand me the taco and you were trying to feed it to me. And I was like, no, you just hand it to me.
Can I clarify something? I know I just cut you off, but I want to confirm. We have had 2 separate taco fights. So one taco fight we had were authentic tacos where Ben didn't buy enough tacos. Then today we had a taco fight at the Taco Bell. Go ahead.
Well, that was a joke. Like the authentic... I basically
Is it a joke that you only bought 3 tacos between the 2 of us? That's not a joke to me.
But we were legitimately angry at each other, and we had to pull over, and tears were shed, and then we apologized. We're like, I don't know what happened, but basically, I think it was like you were trying to feed me the taco
as you were driving, because you can't, when you take one hand off the wheel, it's fucking chaos.
Yeah. I was trying to maneuver anyway, and I was like, no, and then I was like, no, put it in my hand. And I got like really mad.
That's not all you said. You were cussing at me. And
and then I cussed. And then you threw the taco at me while I was driving.
Period. Toxic. Toxic Bell. That need to be the new name of the restaurant. Toxic Bell.
I mean, we shouldn't have been eating Taco Bell anyway. That shit is awful. It's horse meat. It's retired racing horses that they chop up. They put them
on a Dorito shell.
They put them like they Fargo that shit. You ever watch Fargo?
No, I don't need to know.
Frances McDormand. Anyway,
I don't think I saw that, but I don't need to know.
She won Best Actress for it in 1997.
Love her. More of a reason to support Taco Bell.
But anyway, there's a great scene where someone gets shoved through a wood chipper, so they actually do that with the horses.
Spoiler.
When they shove the horses through a wood chipper, that's how they grind the meat.
However they get it, baby.
That is a lie.
I'm going to eat it, baby.
That's a lie. I hope you understand that's a joke. Anyway, I was like, what the I used really inappropriate words. But I had to pull over.
He didn't call me the N-word or nothing like that.
No,
I'm sure people think like when we get really heated, you take it there, but no.
Yeah.
We would.
You take it there. You call me.
Oh, Benjamin James. No, the fuck I don't.
You call me not the N-word, but you say inappropriate words to me.
I called you a fucking asshole today.
Mm-hmm.
How is that race related? Asshole knows no race.
Oh no, yeah, no. I don't know I'm tired. But I'm saying you know some really good words to just zing at me.
I call you like a nincompoop.
Yeah.
An ingrate, an imbecile.
But yeah. Anyway.
We should not be calling each other names at all.
We should not.
This is why we're not going to ever write a freaking like marriage self-help book.
Yeah, no.
Because, Ben, you don't know, you might not know, but some black tea recently was that like this very incredible couple who was like very faith-based and loving. Megan Good and Devon Franklin, for those of y'all who know the story. They were married for like 9 years and are now getting a divorce. I mean, I'll tell you, they wrote books. They talked about like how
they had
faith
a whole
and marriage. They had a whole brand
on
based on their marriage, and it is really sad to see. Like when two like beautiful black people break up, it's a blow to the community, but it's also like. Now that's why the fuck you don't write self-help books if you only been married. God. Or that.
And don't be a Christian. Christ is dead. He can't save your marriage. Christ wasn't
what
even
I was
married.
saying, y'all. That was not what I was saying, listeners. That's what Ben was saying. Ben be on his own. But I don't fully believe that. I think two people can have faith in their relationship and be faith-based and like it can totally thrive. Yeah, don't do it like that, because you know your parents and mine are both big in the church.
Yeah.
And they still married. All I'm saying is I think it's when people our age write self-help books and stuff
on marriage,
on anything. Like even one of my line sisters at one point, sorry if you're listening, but like she wrote a book about like overcoming resilience. And I was like, what is this about? And it was ultimately a book about how she failed the bar exam the first time. And then the second time it was self-published. And I was like, like, of course, when it was coming out, I would never like comment on her Instagram or anything like, bitch, what is this? But I was thinking like, now you damn 25 years old. You ain't even been through no shit yet. Is that mean?
I mean, failing the bar exam is a hard blow. It's just
well, she failed it the first time and then passed it the second time. Well, so she wrote a book about like overcoming. I was like, damn. Girl, that...
Yeah, so I actually have a serious problem
with
what you're bringing up. So recently we watched a bunch of Selling Tampa.
Yes, we did. What you got a problem about?
I have a serious problem with...
You about to get dragged.
I know.
I don't have the same problem as you.
I have a serious... So there's this idea. You might have heard of it. There was a woman called Kimberly Crenshaw. She was a lawyer. I think she was... Where was she at? The article was published in the Chicago... like Law Review, I think, or it was by a Chicago publisher, but I think she was at Harvard. Anyway, the story goes is she was going to be a lawyer. She was going to walk into this like club, and her friend, who was a black man, said, "You can't go in there." And she's like, "Why?" And she's a black woman, Kimberly Crenshaw. And he's like, "Oh, because you're a woman." And it wasn't because she was black, so she had to go in their back to enter into this elite club. Do you know those clubs in grad schools where you go, you drink,
like a secret society?
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, so
like a fraternity.
So anyway,
almost.
Based on that, she writes this idea, comes up with the term intersectionality.
Yes,
which everybody knows.
This is not what Selling Tampa is about.
I think it is important that you recognize this. Selling Tampa. Like, there's this really funny scene where they go and they see all these like very...
Tell people what Selling Tampa even is. Zoom out.
Everybody. Well,
and
I
Selling
feel like
Sunset. Zoom out.
All right. So Selling Sunset is about beautiful women, all white women. I think for the most part, all white women, being hired by these two like really sexy twins. Men to like sell houses, and they use their sex appeal to sell houses. That's Selling Sunset. Selling Tampa is about a black women of color.
No, it's all black women.
All black women.
We've seen the two. Yep.
Yeah. Selling houses and using their sexuality to sell houses.
Correct.
Totally fine. However, there is a scene that I just found incredibly laughable because they're selling like $50 million houses. And these houses are just destroying this idea of affordable housing. They're selling to the 1%. They're selling to people who literally make money off of what I would call slavery, capitalistic slavery, American slavery. That continues to haunt our country today through inequitable wages, through prison labor. That is my argument, 100%. I'm a hardcore anti-capitalist. And at one point, like, two of these characters, black women, are sort of sitting and talking amongst like these murals of these like great black thinkers, American black thinkers. And like, our foremothers, our forefathers fought for us, to do this. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Like, really, your forefathers, your foremothers Their plan was for you to sell millions
So black
of
people
dollars.
can't build generational wealth either?
No. What I'm saying.
So what you saying?
What
Get
I'm
it right
saying
now.
is generational wealth. This buying into this idea of generational wealth is so disgustingly capitalistic and destructive, and I call it, the Ouroboros, this idea of the snake eating its own tail. It's just not sustainable. It's not equitable. It doesn't provide for the rest of society. So I hate
so you don't have a problem with I want to clarify. You don't have a problem with there being a black version of real estate, sexy real estate,
I don't
selling
care.
$1 million homes.
I don't care.
You just hate the juxtaposition of them trying to show like black civil rights activism on a mural, then cut scene. It's them two at brunch.
Yeah. Or cut scenes like we're using black activists and are the people who fought against slavery, who fought against capitalism as their motivation to be hyper capitalistic. I have a serious problem with that. I also have a problem with anybody using, and you see this all the fucking time, where someone
on your soapbox today.
But you see someone using their
That's
identity.
Third wave feminism. They're like sexy, like they're sexy.
No, I don't care. Use
Okay.
your sex appeal to sell houses. Don't say. I have the problem if to say that these great Black American thinkers did this for you to take part in this capitalistic idea of selling millions and $50 million houses.
Yeah, but do you have a problem with people saying like, or black people specifically, since this is who this is about, do you have a problem with me as a black person being like, yeah, my ancestors fought so that I can like create just like other influencers and tell my story authentically like other people?
I'm going to say that it depends how you do it. So I have a serious problem when people use it. This is where intersectionality comes in, right? You have these identities that provide privilege and other identities that are oppressed. And so oftentimes what I see and when I read is that someone with an oppressed identity will often use that oppressive identity to take part in like our very capitalistic
for sure. But
society.
So you mostly just have a problem with it because of the class.
If
they were just making a livable wage, you wouldn't care.
I mean,
but since they're living in luxury, you care.
I don't even care about that. You can go ahead and make your
millions. Why can't people use their ancestors' struggle as a motivation to like want to always make sure their future is financially secure?
They are propelling that oppression. Like when you're selling $50 million houses, you are oppressing other people.
First off, nobody sold a house this season. Yeah. First of all, nobody sold a house this season.
But you're not. Those workers who built those houses, where that lumber came from, I mean, it's just literally the way it's set up. Like it's inherently not equitable. It's not fair.
No, I hear that, but it's like
it's continued to be built on the oppression of others.
I hear that, but it's kind of like, so it's hard to hear that and hear you say, but I support reparations. Like, it's like I totally get what you're saying, but I, love the show. It's trash, it's scripted, but like, I love that I can watch a show where black people are partaking in wealth and turning up and having authentic conversations and going through struggles, like bigger, more real struggles than the white version of the show.
I actually,
but you don't like the exorbitant amounts of money part of it.
I think any show.
Or you don't like how beautiful they are. Like
I don't care. I don't care.
I know that you don't like any show that does it, but you really pressing this show. It's like this show. I mean,
Selling Sunset is just complete trash. Those people are just awful.
Right.
Well, who's the main character on the other one?
Christine Quinn.
I
love her. Oh, she's a mess.
She's a fucking mess, and I like that she comes from like playing in Piranha 3D, like she was killed in Piranha 3D, or like she was killed in a movie. Like that, she came from a dark, disturbing past. She played fucking slasher films. That was her dark, disturbing past. And the Who Weekly totally read the shit out of her. I fucking loved it. We
already talked about this, Ben. Let me ask you this: if these women were just making like a standard working class wage, would you still have a problem with it?
I would.
Because
yes,
where do you draw the line? You have a problem with anybody using what they have, setting goals, and making money.
I have a problem with generational wealth. I have a problem with people making millions of dollars.
That's not what I just asked you.
I have a problem. I have a problem with money in general.
So if anybody makes any amount of money, you are upset.
No. I don't
Especially
like it.
people who have been oppressed. If they are making money, you are mad about it.
No, I don't care. Go ahead and make your money, but don't pretend that you making millions of dollars is some like ultimate goal.
So you don't believe in reparations?
What do you mean by reparations?
Okay, R. Kelly.
How much?
Define teenager.
What do
you know what the fuck I'm talking about when I mean reparations?
Yeah. So would you mean like equitable providing communities?
Like atoning for the just
absolutely, I believe in
raping
that.
and pillaging and stealing of black minds, bodies, ideas, obviously. And paying people as a result of that pain and suffering. Here's
the thing. As a Star Trekkie, I want everything to move towards a post-scarcity civilization, right? And we have
spoken from a true.
I've
never had scarcity situation.
Absolutely, that's the only. That's the only way.
Why is it always white people that are like, I just want everybody to live with the first?
No, that's first of all
with a decent wage. It's like
no, absolutely.
That's easy for you to say.
Absolutely not. That whole idea of socialist thinking that the first socialist thinkers in America, for the most part, many of them, or even now, the big socialist thinkers. Are black thinkers, are black.
I'm not anti-socialism. I'm just saying, like, we're operating in a mindset where we're assuming like everybody started at the starting line, and that's not the case.
I'm not assuming that in the least.
So what? So like, start where we are now. Like, what do you think needs to be done? Like.
I don't have the answer for that. I don't. But
so why are you down these beautiful black girls' throats about it?
No, I'm not.
You just
down.
hate the backdrop. You just hate when it's juxtaposed to the activism.
Yeah, like
okay.
I hate when
I'm gonna give you 30 more seconds.
I hate when fucking TikTok stars do their dance video and say Black Lives Matter while drinking and doing a Dunkin' Donuts
I agree
advertising. That frustrates the shit
out of me.
I
agree with you, but it just felt very like when we were watching Selling Sunset and you coming in the room mad, talking over the TV. It was like, what's your beef with this show? I watched the white version all fucking day.
The white version, they weren't trying to, and I got just as mad as the white version when when Christine Quinn was like, I come from like oppression, or I come from she grew up in the fucking suburbs. She actually lied about graduating from high school. Anyway, I absolutely
understand. When capitalism meets activism, I think we can both agree that it is in poor taste, and it is not. It's in poor taste.
I think yes, and I think
it's unethical.
I would say it's unethical, but I think what I tend to hone in on is when very wealthy people use their identity that's been oppressed to sort of mask all their wealth.
Agreed.
And I have a problem with that.
I think it would have been better received if that was your starting point.
Yeah.
But since your starting point, if you're still listening out there, we love you. But if your starting point is, here's my beef with all these black women and wanting to be wealthy, it's like, oh Lord.
No, yeah, that sounds awful.
Yeah, like I think setting the stage for like, you okay?
Yeah, itchy ear.
Interesting. Setting the stage for this, when capitalism tries to meet activism, I agree, because it was in poor taste when Kendall Jenner did that Pepsi commercial.
Oh,
and
yeah,
it is,
awful.
and black people can do things, and just because we have been oppressed, I agree with you, can still use the oppressor's tool to perpetuate capitalism. I agree with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Take a quick break.
Yeah, that's my main point. And Octavia Butler actually writes about that in Imago.
Oh, is that your segue?
Yeah, she does. She absolutely addresses the people obtaining too much wealth, people using plastics, people without literally. There's that whole scene in the second book we talked about where they're like, we know what we're making is harmful. We know that driving, petroleum cars is harmful.
I hear you.
There's a great documentary called like who killed the electric car. I think it came out in like 2007 and talks about the petroleum companies and these car companies literally killed the electric car until Tesla came.
I hear you. It's just sometimes it's like life is so fucking hard, so it is very grounding for me, not as somebody who has little to no generational wealth. Heavy on the no.
That's a complete lie. You have no idea.
Can I finish what
I'm sorry.
Oh
yeah,
my
I'm
God.
sorry.
We are literally 25 minutes into
sorry.
the show and we haven't.
You do have generational wealth. Your parents own a fucking house.
Okay, sure. They're the first people. They own a house.
Yeah.
It is the stuff. I think I'm confused about what. So we are wealthy because we own this condo.
Absolutely.
Okay. I didn't know
Absolutely.
that. I looked at my bank account and that says different. But per you, we are wealthy.
We are very wealthy.
We are very. Ben, that is not true.
Comparatively, we're not making millions of dollars.
Not
we're not even making six figures, but comparatively to the rest of society.
Okay, well, we'll sell our house so we can live ethically.
Give all to the poor.
That's
what Jesus said.
Is as a person that has many oppressed identities, intersectionality, it is helpful sometimes to give myself a mental break or a mental rest when I think about the dreams of my ancestors that I'm becoming. Mm-hmm. It's like I just want to take a minute and get grounded and find gratitude for the people that came before me that did the very hard manual labor, manual work, were never compensated for their time, because I am now in a position to receive their gifts and to continue forward on this legacy of like Black people having autonomy over their own outputs and building wealth. And when somebody like you tries to be like, well, actually, you shouldn't be receiving any of that because all of this shit is capitalism, we should all burn it to the ground. It's like, yeah. Let me just shut up before I throw this taco in your face. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. Okay, and we're back.
We're back.
You good?
Yeah, I went on I just get really passionate about economics and equitable and
not race. Got it.
And race as well. I think, but they're both. You can't have one without the other. But
I smell what you're stepping in.
Yeah,
and
it makes me really.
Too. I know your heart. I want other people to know that, like, you don't hate thriving Black women. And we don't know currently, because I asked you, did you believe in reparations?
Well, when reparations are just like a payout or like just gonna pay people money, like. That there's no reparation that can actually provide what was actually done until you have a complete overhaul of the American political system involving education, involving housing, involving just resources in general. So like when you were like, oh, reparations, I often Evanston has done a reparations. Chicago has done it in certain instances where you basically pay out people who've been oppressed or beaten by the Chicago PD, Chicago Police Department. Really, really horrific story involving that, involving Black sites, and they just ended up like paying out the victims. Yeah, and that doesn't provide like long-term. They could use that money to get. Therapy. They could use that money for education, but that doesn't really deal with the fact that the Chicago Police Department, first of all, they still stand behind this villainous man. I think his name was John Burge. They still, like, after they paid reparations, what was this, 3 years ago, the Chicago, fraternity, the union, made a statement still supporting. So, like, reparations, I think is, like, fine, like, but there's bigger. More. There needs to be more
systemic change,
and it can't just be money.
I wholeheartedly, and I'm hoping people are still listening to hear this part, because I don't want anything that you say to be taken out of context. But context. But
everything we say can be taken out of context.
Period. It has been. Trust me. I wholeheartedly believe what you just said and step by that because, and I'm going to tell you like just another little sidebar. You know, I listened to this amazing podcast called Getting Grown, and it's 2 Black women, and one of them works in higher ed, and they were discussing one day on the podcast about how, you know, Beyonce and Jay-Z just paid scholarships to like, you know, 10 students at the total, like, and said they would completely cover their college tuition, and that's great. But there needs to be an investment in like infrastructure on colleges if we want to like in HBCUs. I think this was all specifically like students that went to HBCUs, and it's like, well, that's going to help those 10 students not have student loan debt, but that money could have gone towards like librarying, staff, new policies, like. And so she was similarly arguing as far as like when you ask things like, well, what are reparations? She was arguing like we can't just throw like random amounts of dollars places like without first, like we do need money in certain areas, but like we need sometimes investment in infrastructure is actually serving the community more than it is like giving an individual $500 a week or whatever. I mean, we kind of all saw that with the stimulus checks or whatever that were few and far between. You know, we got 2 checks all year and 800,000 Americans have still died from this virus. Yeah. Like how did that help in the grand scheme? I mean, I took my stimmy, you know what I'm saying? But like, I totally understand what you're saying. Huge change of gears really quickly. I did want to read one Apple Podcast rating that we saw. There are some Apple Podcast ratings that are waiting in the chamber. I just want to acknowledge that. And Ben is actually going to review a rating next week as well that had something specific to do with him. But we got one right here. So if you're that person and you know who I'm talking about, we got your back. We're going to address that. This one's just called Melanated Magic. I love this couple on TikTok and I absolutely adore their podcast. I hope you still listening. I just finished reading the Binti trilogy and can't wait to start other recommendations I haven't read or heard of yet. Great job on highlighting the melanated magic out there. Yes. Like Binti and Selling Sunset.
Yeah, Binti and
Selling Tampa.
Tampa. I did enjoy Selling Tampa. I just had that one quibble.
You enjoy seeing those beautiful women, and as did I.
They were great.
But you're correct. It's sad that we live in a country where there are homeless people and people that live in $75 million homes. Like I know what you're saying.
That just makes me so angry.
I see you. And speaking of social change and activism through art, which is not what Selling Tampa did. Let's talk a little bit about Imago, the last book. Why don't you summarize it for people who honestly haven't been reading it or who read it 3 weeks ago with us?
Yeah, Imago is the final book of this trilogy, and it deals with the Onkali who have now allowed the third gender to be human, and so which they call the Ooloi, and in any sort of I guess pairing between a female and male, there's an Ooloi who sort of connects them and sort of reproduces with them. And the Ooloi are just like I don't want to say supreme gender, but their abilities are pretty unique, and their abilities to heal.
The best of both worlds.
Yeah, so they're just really fantastic. So this deals with the first human Ooloi, and sort of his decision to meet this human civilization. I think they're in Sao Paulo. I think maybe it's in I forgot exactly where it was, but basically this Ooloi encounters this group of humans that have hidden themselves from the Onkali and started to reproduce because of a genetic mutation. Because originally the Onkali had essentially neutered and spayed all the humans, or made all of them infertile. So Onkali is this alien race, and they were like, humans, y'all just been fucking everything up. Y'all fight too much. We're gonna make y'all infertile. Just kill yourselves out that way. Unless you join us and mate with us and have an Ooloi. So an Ooloi, this Ooloi, human Ooloi, ends up connecting with these group of humans that have been born naturally, and which is sort of the big twist in this book. And it sort of goes off from there. But yeah, so what'd you think about this book?
This, I don't know. This book specifically, compared to the other two, didn't captivate me as much. Maybe, it was just a tired, trying to finish it thing. But I really enjoy, of course, the story is still brilliant, but it just wasn't as like action packed as the other two books for me. This book was really just sort of Akeen, whose name now is Jodas, is really learning like, wow, I thought I've identified as male my whole life, and now that I have completely metamorphosed, I am a third gender. So I like learning about that. I think this book for me maybe would have been more impactful if I would have read it closer to its release date. But because we do live in this space now where I have non-binary friends, and I have read more things about like Two-Spirit and, indigenous culture and things like that. I think it's not as shocking to us that this third gender is like alive and thriving. Maybe that sounds really stupid, but I don't know. I think people in the 80s when this was released were probably like clutching their pearls at the thought of like a third gender. But this to us, like the time spent on Jodas, who is our main character, is sort of like grappling with the fact that they're a third gender, wasn't as like shocking for me. But I do really enjoy the part where like now Jodas has like way more power and can be more fatal and has to be a lot more careful, because it's like, I mean, I got the best of female and male parts. Like if somebody fuck with me, I'm gonna fucking kill them. So like that was cool.
I think this shows that transitioning from one gender to another is just a natural process.
Right.
And normalizes it in a way that I still like haven't read. Like when I've read YA novels about trans kids, it's like about sort of, this whole unique experience of like being trans and like, and sort of like, almost, what's the term? Like fetishizing it. Like even books, even books that are supportive of it, and then also books that deal with like, coming out as gay. Not all of them, but some of them, deal with like this coming out narrative as the narrative in and of itself, and as the drama in and of itself. But in this book, the drama comes from not necessarily the transitioning. Like that's just a natural process.
Right.
And the fact that Octavia Butler chooses to write it as a natural process and in a very biological one, and I think legitimizes
yes.
Well, it just legitimizes like a trans experience, right?
Correct.
And it's different, and I think that there's a intense beauty to that, where the real drama comes when
well, maybe that now that you said it like that, that's what I was receiving.
Yeah.
I wasn't receiving this big transition and this big shock. It was like, oh, this happened now.
Yeah.
Like maybe it was written that way intentionally, and that's how I received it. Like, this isn't shocking. This is just like a part of this alien culture.
I remember reading a book, I think it was called Boy Meets Boy, and it was written, I think mid-2000s. And in that, it was like the first, I had read a couple of like coming out narratives, but this is the first one where it was not a coming out narrative. It was just, a love story between two boys. Like, and I think like there's a throwaway line in the book where like, yeah, some people in some schools have a problem with this, but that's never been a problem in our school. It was almost like this book created this alternate world in which all gay kids were accepted.
Yeah, like Schitt's Creek.
Or
Single All the Way, the new gay Christmas movie.
Yeah, and I think this is what, at least among the, the construct humans and the humans who have integrated into the Onkali culture, the Ooloi, the third gender, is just automatically accepted, where the humans who are not part of that, they reject not just the third gender per se, but the alienness of the Onkali in general, and the construct humans in general, and the humans.
Classic humans.
Yeah,
rejecting
very classic.
Everything.
So the drama comes, I think the drama was really relevant, because basically when the the Onkali discovers
like, wait a
this
minute,
group.
y'all motherfuckers can have kids?
Yeah, but the fact that these kids that they have
Yeah.
serious genetic mutations.
And why is that being?
Because they're, having sex with their sisters, their brothers, like, they're not very far away. And as, in the gene pool. And so, but they would rather do this, for some of them, they would rather do this than to have any connection with the other. And I think that decision that people will go against their own physical well-being because of some, political, spiritual belief
is very human.
Is very human, but also very relevant for today.
Yes.
Right. And I think that what eventually sort of turns everyone over is that the
deaths
Ooloi, the deaths, but also the Ooloi, and it have a very immediate way of providing healing, and they also release pheromones that makes people more passive.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like you can't even help that you turned on by Ooloi. You be like, ooh,
yeah,
you don't tamper with my pheromones.
Yeah.
Because I remember, and correct me if you didn't feel this or whatever, but, and again, maybe it's written this way, but like, I remember feeling, disgusted. I too went through the human experience of like feeling grossed out by the Ooloi, and I'm like, the Onkali in general, and being like, damn, if I was this person, like, would I want to mate with this Ooloi? Because in my brain, it does feel like bestiality in some way. And then it takes you on a journey as a human. By the time you're at the third book, it's like, come on, let's fuck. Because I ain't fucking my brother and having kids with deformities.
Yeah.
Like, so it does a really great job of making you like hate the way that humans think about things, and then also reminding you like you are also human, and you also would have these hesitations in mating with like if an alien came to Earth today and was like, you and Ben can't have kids anymore, y'all can only mate with us. I too would be like, hold the fuck up, like there's no way. But
well, the other thing is that the incest is not really a problem, because like if you have an Ooloi, the Ooloi can have a brother and sister mate.
Right.
And it's not incestuous because the Ooloi can deal with any genetic mutation. What the problem is in this society, whether this only human, society that has stayed hidden from the Onkali, is that there's no Ooloi to sort of fix them or to deal with, not fix them, but to heal them from any genetic mutation. So I think that's just like so brilliant, because she is saying the incest is not the problem, it's the result of incest. That's the problem. So if the result from incest is no longer a problem, then incest wouldn't be a problem. The reason that incest is taboo is because of genetic mutations. Get rid of the genetic mutations. You mean like in and out of
this story?
Yeah, just in general, yeah. The other thing I wanted to, ask you about is I'm wearing a shirt called Radical Inclusivity.
Are you plugging that on our very capitalistic podcast? Because I don't think that those two things work together.
So you want to talk about this shirt?
No. Yes, I do.
Because you wanted to buy it. You're like, I want to buy me a shirt.
I do. Well, we went to this new coffee shop in my hometown. My hometown is like coming up. Who knows? Gentrification. Who knows? Ben obviously has me thinking about all the things. But the restaurant is called, the coffee shop is called Binti and Bo's. It's in Athens, Georgia. And it is a restaurant that really highlights and focuses on people with disabilities, mostly physical disabilities, because and mental disabilities. The owners of Biddy and Bo's have 3 children, one of which has autism, and then 2 of the other children have Down syndrome. And so this coffee shop really offers jobs to people who might also have autism, might also have Down syndrome. So we just stopped in there to get like a smoothie and just like hang out and talk with another friend of mine, Crystal. And I was like, I want to buy a shirt, and I like really vibe with this space's mission and things like that. And then we had a larger conversation later about like how everybody wants to be, like the diverse is like everybody's buzzword. Diversity and inclusion is the buzzword of 2021, of course. With businesses, and people are like, well, we don't specifically say that black people can't work here, whatever. It's like, but you don't say, so this
You don't
this
say
place,
black people are welcomed here.
yes, you don't say the word black here. So what I really enjoyed about this place is they were like, hey, we are here to serve like this community with disabilities. These are our workers, these are our children, this is our family. And so I fucks with it.
Yeah. And the reason I brought it up is the Onkali, I think, flirts with this idea of radical inclusivity, right? For example, in the second book, you're looking at a group of humans who said, we do not want to mate with the Onkali. We want to just be humans. And the Onkali were like, all right, well, we'll set you up on Mars, and you're going to live on Mars, and humans are just going to have sex with humans, right?
And y'all are probably going to kill each other, but go ahead.
But go ahead, right? And for example, when humans, there's a scene, a really intense scene in the third book, Imago, where a human, like a very violent human, shoots and tries to kill somebody, and this violent human is not, killed, is not put on the death penalty, but is still allowed to be human, just has to live on an Onkali ship, which is huge. It's massive. I mean, you could call that imprisonment, but it's this idea that I think the Onkali do allow humans to be humans, but at the same time, like, they take cancer and they heal it, but then they also use it. So I keep on thinking, like, how, and, Octavia Butler didn't address this, but how would they deal with Down syndrome? Would they heal humans with Down syndrome?
Yeah.
Would they
with autism?
With autism. And one of the, I took the science fiction class in college, which introduced me to science fiction. Kevin Pinkham, huge, awesome, like, influence in my life. Great dude. Dr. Kevin Pinkham. But he gave us a book called, I think it was called The Speed of Dark, right? And it's about it's not science fiction until the last, like, 20 pages, but those last 20 pages blows your fucking mind. So it's huge spoiler alert. If you don't want to, know the ending, it's The Speed of Dark, great book by Elizabeth Moon, who writes mostly, like, space odyssey, space travel science fiction, a space opera science fiction. And she wrote this book where the only thing science fiction about it is that there's a cure for autism at the end of the book. And the main character is an autistic worker who works for this company. And then the company says, well, to be more productive, we've, created this cure. And that character's shift between, the 140 pages or, 160 pages of the book and the last 40 pages of the book is jarring. And if you found a cure for autism, how that would radically change the person. And essentially, her point is that...
Like the movie we just saw, the Ron's Gone Wrong.
Oh, yeah, Ron's Gone Wrong, which is, I think, really just a metaphor for autism.
Yes,
it's a great science fiction kids movie. I love it. Like, absolutely go see it. It's on Disney Plus.
I'll put all these recommendations in there. These are not black authors or directors,
yeah,
but we'll drop them.
But I think, right, like, how would the Onkali deal with that? I mean, they're radically inclusive to some extent, but I think they would radically change. I don't think they would be as radically inclusive as we make them to be.
I think they would really just break it down to what are the skill sets. I think they would be very analytical about it.
Yeah.
So they would say,
Agreed.
like, are your autistic humans, what are their outputs? If they're not outputting, which might be a huge difference between, like, someone who has Down syndrome and someone who has autism.
Right.
But I think they would literally just look at, like, who's killing here.
Yeah, and the reason they came to Earth was to get cancer.
Right.
That was their number one reason. Before that, they couldn't help people grow limbs back. They couldn't help people grow any regrow ththings. Cancer was the number one thing they needed from the humans. That was, like, the biggest thing.
They did try to fix a lot of physical. Yeah, it's a lot of physical disabilities, and there was a character in this chapter of the book that had, like, a nub for a leg, and they grew it back or something. Yeah. So if you're thinking about, like, would they make a person in a wheelchair walk? The answer is yes. So
yeah, I think they would. Well, because there's all these like really intimate scenes where the Ooloi touches somebody and can feel every genetic part of them, every DNA, and that's how they sense them and feel them
and turn them on.
And turn them on, right? And so I think
were there some scenes where you got like a little bit horny with the
it was like watching an octopus move.
Yes.
Yeah.
The undulating. Yes. Oh my God. Remember when we tried to watch My Octopus Teacher?
And it was just an octopus and a man.
I was like, I can't wait to learn like the deeper meaning of this octopus connection with this filmmaker. And I was like, at one point we looked at each other where we're like, Ben was like, it's just him and his octopus.
Yeah, we need
that is the movie. I was like,
for our documentaries, we're like very much into human connection. We don't really care about the animal world so much. I mean, I do.
We love our documentaries, but I really thought, we gave it 30 minutes and then we were like, it really is just him connecting with this octopus, which is beautiful, but I ain't trying to watch that right now. I thought this was like going to be some larger Seaspiracy, save the planet type. I don't know. It still could happen.
But I think oftentimes those personal stories, like those very intimate stories, tend to have much more macrocosmic meaning.
They do. But we couldn't. It felt very National Geographic, which is also beautiful. But it was like, I'm not trying to do that right now.
It's apparently amazing, and so we should watch the rest of it. Maybe we'll do it. I don't know, but
we're not. We have
it was
so many
it was sort of a
movies
Well, we don't. We're not.
But we
too bad.
did finish Lilith's Brood.
We did
as we wrap up our show here.
Me for the second time. Yeah.
You for the second time.
Yeah.
We learned that we are turned on by Octopussy as we read this book.
Yeah.
And
Tentacle
we thought,
sex.
and we did have a little moment where we were like, should we stop eating octopus? I mean, I ain't eating anything raw right now.
I
don't know. I really want to get there, but I'm also a
the Onkali. They don't eat meat. Like when
right,
they're very much anti-meat. They eat everything like vegetables and.
I don't discriminate. Like, I don't mind eating at a vegan restaurant. Like, as long as things are seasoned well or whatever. Like, my father only eats very heavily salted porks and meats. And I'm not like that. Like, I just need things to crunch. You know me.
Yeah.
I'm easy. I'm easy like Sunday morning.
I do want to end with like this last fun information. So basically, I think it took about maybe 13 years. I think it took about 13 years from when it was 10 years. It was 10 years. So basically, Octavia Butler, I think, dies in 2007. 10 years later, all her papers are saved by, I think, Huntington University. And so recently, I think within the past 5 years, Octavia Butler's studies has just exploded.
Yeah.
And so there's lots of great books coming out. But one of them was written by a white dude, Gerry Canavan, which I really enjoyed. It's from Modern Masters of Science Fiction. That was really good. And then also,
I'm confused about how something she wrote came from him. Could you run that by me one more time?
So basically, all her understood. So Huntington University basically collected all her papers.
Okay.
And they ended up coming with, I think it was about 386 boxes of like just scraps or, unpublished manuscripts or first drafts, And so that was sort of put together. And so all these books are now coming out. Scholars are writing like really detailed books being like, she, wrote a third book. There was a Parable of the Sower and then Parable of the Talents. And there was a third book that was unpublished.
Okay.
And you could read that. You can go to this university. You can access it. And so Gerry Canavan wrote a book for the Modern Masters of Science Fiction, sort of looking through all this. Really, really good. There's an interview he did with Wired that I really enjoyed. But then also Adrienne Marie Brown, a Black woman who's
Love
sort
her.
of, she's fantastic, but she's sort of created almost a religion from Octavia Butler's works. And so all this is just coming out. and because she saved everything, like in the interview I listened with I think Gerry Canavan is, he said basically she saved everything, and I just
My girl,
everything.
I can relate.
I know, and I save I save everything as well. So
yeah, I wish we need to save more things digitally.
Yeah,
since we can. But I love that.
Yeah, just piles and piles of stuff. But it really made me think about, it took them 10 years to get this stuff together, and it's fascinating. Like when, Salinger dies or when white authors die, like people have already been working on this. So the fact that her work wasn't really available until 10 years after her death is like very just baffling. Racist. It's racist is the word. And Amber and I, yesterday, when we came back, we broke up our trip. And before we left, we watched a great documentary called The Two Killings of Sam Cooke. Mm-hmm. And in that,
good stuff.
It was so good. But one of the most, I think, disturbing facts of that is that he recorded a live show.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
In Harlem, 1963, and because his producers thought it was like too black, it was in front of a black audience. They didn't publish it until 25 years later. Which is just the idea of like suppressing black people's work. It's just coming over and over again. And I think the way you get around that is that you have black artists, you celebrate black artists, but then you also have black producers. You have black publishing companies.
Black people behind the camera, editing. Yeah.
So, I don't know, just something to think about. And I think it's so cool with what you're doing, Amber, because you're like, I'm going to be my own producer. You're both the creator.
You think it's cool until we start making money.
What do you mean?
# Selling Tampa. And with that being said, Ben, why don't you warp up the show?
No, I think, okay. No. No.
You're not going to warp up the show?
No, because I don't make your money, Amber. Mm-hmm. But also, like, fight for justice at the same time. And don't
not in
mask,
the same video.
And
Correct.
don't fucking mask your wealth or your success with, like, this is what Black Lives Matter mean. Like, no.
I got you.
And you don't do that. You're not the Selling Tampa girls. Women, I should say. That's sexist of me.
Do I wish I was? That's a different conversation. Then with that being said, why don't you warp up the show?
All right. In conclusion, Octavia Butler is a deity of immortality, and we should scratch the whole Bible and just start using her works to ethically live our lives.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ben. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Sci-Fi Sci Podcast. Up next, we are watching a movie. We about to do a lot of watching, y'all, because we put you through the ringer with all the books for the past month. So we are going to be watching The Waterman on Netflix. It is directed by David Oyelowo. Okay, so be sure to watch The Waterman on Netflix, and we will see y'all next week for the show. I promise then we will also do our Patreon book giveaway. We'll see y'all then. Bye, y'all.